Guys, so here's part 2 of our lesson 12 notes. We're now going to use the graphing calculator to find turning points as well as x-intercepts. So for example 1, we're going to be using this function to find the turning points and x-intercepts. So remember, turning points are going to be our local max and mins, and then x-intercepts, of course, where the graph crosses the x-axis. So let's go ahead and plug this into our graphing calculator to see what we get. There we go. And I made it nice and big so you guys can see what we're doing here. Okay, so remember we go to the y equals. So we can do clear anything that you need to clear. Okay. Now I'm going to put in x cubed. So my x, you do your caret key, third power, minus 3x squared. Make sure you use the minus sign and not the negative, or you'll get the wrong graph. And then plus 6. Now make sure, because if you're, been using your graphing calculator or using someone else's or something like that, make sure we want to go back to just the normal or standard window, which is from -10 to +10. So remember, you can press zoom here and then go to number 6 to make it into your Z, or it'll be called Z standard, so it's your standard. Okay, so it looks like we kind of see everything. We see where it crosses the x-axis, we see our max and our min. So let's first do the turning point. So let's do the local max here, okay? So I'm going to do second trace, and then we're going to go to number 4 for maximum. So I'll just go ahead and scroll so you guys can see here, okay? Press enter. Now remember, it's going to ask you for a left and right bound. So left bound means we want to move our cursor somewhere on the left-hand side of our maximum here, okay? Now, make sure you can only use the left and right arrow keys when you're moving the cursor. Otherwise, it won't move. So we press enter. Now I'm going to move it to the right-hand side, just somewhere over basically that local max. If you put it right on there, it might give you an error or it might not calculate it correctly. We press enter. Don't forget, always press enter for a third time. And there we go. So now notice that for here, x is this 8.2, but we see e to the -7th. Remember, we kind of talked about this, especially when we try to find the x-intercepts for quadratics. If you ever see e to a negative number here, just make that and represent it as 0. Really, the graphing calculator is trying to get as close or as approximate as possible. So really, our maximum or local maximum is going to be 0, 6. So let's go ahead and write that down on our notes. So I'm going to just say local max, because that's what it was. And I'm going to write it as, a point. Okay. Now here, we did say that basically your local max occur at the y coordinates. So basically we are going to write it as an ordered pair, so we just know what the point is. So you could just say turning points if you want to, rather, and then list your points, and then like on the side put local max min, but it's up to you. I'm going to, afterwards, can I do a little thing just to indicate, oh, these are turning points. Okay, now our local min here. So I'm going to go back. So now my min is right here at the bottom. So now I have to do, once again, my second and then trace. I'm going to go to number 3 for minimum. So I got to be on the left-hand side. Now you do want to make sure that you're not on the left-hand side of the entire graph, because it's not going to give you the correct answer. So you got to be on the left-hand side of the minimum itself. So this decreasing part here. Then I'm going to put my cursor on the right-hand side where it's increasing. Press enter and press enter again. And I'm going to round, probably this is a 2. So we have 2, 2. So that's my local min. And then these are our turning points. Okay, now let's talk about the x-intercepts. When we write this, we're going to write it as an ordered pair as well, like we've done with our max and mins. Now notice we only cross the x-axis once, so we only need to find one x-intercept. So now let's kind of just talk about this and kind of combine all the information you have learned. Notice that we are in standard form, so our largest exponent is 3. That means the degree of this polynomial is 3. Well, the degree tells you how many solutions you would have. In this case, using that fundamental theorem of algebra, we would have 3 solutions, or 3 x-intercepts. Now, in this case, when we say solutions, remember that can also indicate that we have imaginary solutions. So that means we actually have one real solution here, but we have two imaginary solutions. Okay, so that's why we don't cross again, because we have two imaginary. So there's just some little bisect there just to make sure we connect everything together. Okay, let's find the x-intercept. I do second trace. I go to 0, because that's what we're trying to find, a 0 or x-intercept. Okay, now we got to be on the left-hand side of it. Now remember, when we're doing this, you got to think of an imaginary line that's going straight through your x-intercept. What would be the left-hand side and what would be the right-hand side? Well, below the x-axis would be the left-hand side, or the left bound, and above the x, now don't go over to the other side. You have to be just right above the x-intercept. Don't move it over anymore. And then press enter. Okay, so it looks like we're at, and we'll round to, let's just do maybe 3 decimal places. 2 usually suffices, but we'll just do 3. So we have negative 1.9 or 196, and then our y should be 0. Okay. And there's our turning points and x-intercepts. Okay, what I would like you guys to do is go ahead and pause the video and try example 2, finding all the turning points and x-intercepts. Okay, let's see how you guys did here. Go up. Now, if you didn't notice also, I forgot to say this, I have already given you the entire instruction. So read through this. So here it says, for your turning point, is the turning point a max or min? You click y equals, type your equation. That's what we did. Click trace, and then we're going to do second trace, either min or max, depending what you're doing. Okay, and the same thing for the x-intercept. It tells you exactly. So if you kind of forget, look back at the instructions there, okay? It really will help you. Okay, let's go ahead and go through here. So I'm going to have to go back to y equals. I got to clear this, and I'm going to put in my function. So I have x to the 4th minus 6x cubed. Don't forget to make sure you do minus and not a negative, because otherwise I'll give you the wrong answer, plus 3x squared, and then plus 10x, and minus 3. Okay, now we're going to graph. We're probably already on our z standard. Now, if you notice here, right, that we see all the x-intercepts, we're good. We see a minimum, maximum, but our lowest minimum we do not see. So that means what I'm going to have to do is change my window, and particularly probably my y min, I'm going to have to change. So I'm going to click on window. Now, this is really a guess and check type of thing. I'm going to go for my minimum, negative 20, and see if that suffices. If not, I'll just keep kind of going down to find that value. So let's press graph. I still don't see it, so I'm going to go down another 10. So, or what I can also do is, instead of going to negative 20, let me go to negative 50. I'll just automatically go there, and let's see what we get. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so we have 2 minimums to find and 1 maximum. So let's go ahead. We can do this if we want to left to right. So do the min, max, the min, or just put it all together to do the 2 mins first and the max. So I'm just going to do the 2 mins first. So we press second trace. I go to minimum, which is 3. Okay, my first one, I need to be on the left side. There we go. And then on the right side, so on the increasing part here. And press enter. There we go. And here we're just going to once again round to 3 decimal places if possible. So this is one of our minimums here. So let's write that down. I'm going to write down local min. It really doesn't matter what you try to find first. So that's the nice part. Okay, let's find the next one. So I do once again second trace. I go to min. Going to move it all the way over. And I'm going to press enter. So remember, the cursor, it doesn't matter where you place it really. Just make sure you're on the correct increasing and decreasing parts for it. Okay, here we have for our x and y. So let's write that information down. And 3.962. Okay, now let's find our local max. Let me do this instead to make it a little bit easier. Here we go. There we go. So then I can show you that these are our turning points. Okay, local max. We do second trace. Now we do number 4 for max. I have to move back over to go to my left side. Here we go. Go over to the right side. And here's our answer here. So we're going to write it. And these are the turning points. Okay, now our X-intercepts. So we will have to do this, notice 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so I go to number 2 for my 0. I'm going to go from the left all the way to the right. Okay, so here we got to do left bound. In this case, our left bound, we're going to place it above the X-intercept. And then right bound's going to be below. Now, don't go over to the other side because then it won't give you the right answer. So stay on that same decreasing side there. Then press enter. There you go. Don't forget, anytime you see e to the negative and it's a pretty large number, that's just going to be considered 0, okay? So here's our X-intercept here. We'll write that. So we have negative 1.1370. Okay, we do it a third time. So once you kind of get the hang of this, it's pretty easy. So I press enter, because now below is going to be the left-hand side, and above is going to be the right-hand side. So here's our next one. So I'm just going to list it basically. Do it again. Okay. Above here is going to be my left. Below is going to be my right. Press enter a third time. Here we go. Once again, make sure your y is 0. And then our last one. Whoops. Oh, we got to go second trace again. That was my fault. Number 2. And now I can use this. So left bound's going to be below. And right bound's going to be above. Oop, I went really above. That's okay. And here we go, our last one. There you go. And there's your X-intercepts. Okay, make sure you watch the last part. That's where we're going to be talking about domain and range and how to write the intervals for increasing and decreasing.